All right, well, let's do it.
All right. Now, it is my pleasure. I am Meredith Elliott Powell. For those of you who do not know me, I get to introduce Brian Biro. I mean, Brian, I am lucky enough to call him a friend, but he is so much more than that. He is a mentor, my true North Star. I would not be where I am from a career standpoint without Brian. But as most of you know, he is America's breakthrough coach. A major client described him best, I love this, when he said, Brian Biro has the energy of a 10-year-old, the enthusiasm of a 20-year-old, and the wisdom of a 75-year-old. And that's about as good as it can get. Brian has delivered over 1,800 presentations around the world in the last 30 years, the author of 15 books, including his bestseller, Beyond Success, and his brand new one, The ROI of Kindness. Brian was rated #1 from over 40 speakers at four consecutive Inc. magazine international conferences. With degrees from Stanford University and UCLA, Brian has appeared on Good Morning America and CNN, and he was recently named one of the top 100 most inspirational graduates in the 75-year history of the UCLA Graduate School of Business. He was also honored as one of the top 10 interactive keynote speakers in North America and one of the top 60 motivational speakers in the world. So Brian, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Meredith. And everybody, although I can't hear you or can't see you, everybody take a nice deep breath in and let it all the way out. And welcome. Meredith and I are so completely excited, stunned, surprised. We had 1,000 people register for this program today. And we are just really humbled by the fact that you would take the time to be here. And as we were starting to talk about doing this program, it really struck me that this pandemic has hit everybody so personally, whether it be financial, whether it be lifestyle for all of us, whether it be the health and well-being of people that we love. It's hit us all. And for me personally, it's really hit me because I love being out there live and doing live events with you, and they're gone. As of March 12th, I came off the road and they were gone. No more live events. And so right now, it's very easy for everybody out there to focus on the fear, focus on the uncertainty. In my own career, I don't know when live events will come back. I don't know if they'll come back. I don't know how they'll come back. And so what we wanted to do was create an opportunity today to help everybody shift that focus and understand that we always have choices, that's on the outside. What we need to focus is on the inside, to control our controllables, to focus on the things that give us momentum and possibility. And so both Meredith and I are going to zero in on that. And you're going to love Meredith. She's the best part of the show today. I always save the best for last. And so we're going to get started. And I really wanted to bring to everyone today some inspiration. And because we need to inspire instead of expire. And my inspiration for today comes from one of my greatest teachers. He happens to be the man who wrote the foreword to my first book, which was Beyond Success. And he was known as the greatest college basketball coach of all time. And his name was John Wooden. And there he is. Kind of got that guy with the long hair next to him. And the actual hair there was actually me with a mustache. John Wooden, for those who don't know, was the greatest coach of all time. His teams at UCLA basketball won 10 national championships. Context, no other coach in history has won more than 5. Coach Wooden won 10 in 12 years. But for those who could care less about college sports or basketball, let me tell you what's better about John Wooden. Better father, better husband, better person than he was a coach. And one of the greatest gifts of my life with this incredible man was my friend and wrote the foreword to my first book. But when I first met him, he gave me the inspiration for this program to move from fear to freedom, to help us understand choices. And when I first met him, I was running a training company, and we had people all around the United States who were teaching seminars on leadership and team building. And I thought, what would be better than to interview the greatest of them all? Because I grew up in Southern California, totally admiring this man, the way he treated people with dignity and respect. And so I knew where he lived in Encino, California, because that's where I was a coach. And I'm so excited. A lot of the people I coached are on this call today. And so I knew where he lived. Somehow I got his phone number. I called him up on the phone. He answered the phone. I was not ready for that. I am sure that I drooled, I stumbled, I mumbled, I stuttered. Finally, I could get out what I called to ask him if I could come and visit him and interview him. And this gracious gentleman who had never met me before, said, "Sure, Brian, come on down." So I drove to he lived very modestly in Southern California, sat down in the living room with him, and for 2 hours we talked, by the end of which we became lifelong friends. We lost him 10 years ago at the age of 99 and a half. He almost made 100. But it was one of the questions I asked him that day that's at the heart of what we're going to do today, what you can do every day. And the question I asked him was, "Coach, what's the difference between a good team and a great one? What's the difference between a good team and a great one?" And he sort of shocked me because, as I mentioned before, I have a background in coaching, and virtually all of you are coaches. We all coach. If you're a parent, you're a coach. And I honestly thought the first thing he'd say was, "Well, Brian, it starts with recruiting and talent. You got to have the recruits, you got to have the talent." And the first thing the coach wouldn't said was, "Brian, it doesn't have much to do with recruiting and talent." He said, "There are no overachievers. We are all underachievers." And that struck me so much that one of my latest books is called "There Are No Overachievers." Because what he was saying was, we have no idea how much is really inside of us. We have no idea of the greatness, of the kindness, of the possibility that we have every day. So he really caught my attention with that first answer. Second thing he said totally caught my attention to capture yours. All right. Second thing he said was, "Brian, the difference between a good basketball team and a great basketball team, exactly the same difference between a good company and a great company, between a good professional and a great professional, a good teacher and a great teacher, between a good anything and a great anything." So now he had my undivided attention. And after a lifetime of working with people, which is what we all do, and right now it's harder because it's all virtual. After a lifetime of working with people, it became clear to him that the difference that made the ultimate difference between good and great came down to the difference between two little words. He said, on good or average teams, good or average parents, good or average teachers, professionals, managers, leaders, he said, all of those good or average people are willing to support each other and the greater good of the team. Now, the key word he used was willing. Now, I must tell you, I always thought willing is a really good word. It's way better than unwilling. But then he described it in a way that I'll bet most of you can kind of relate to, at least sometime in your life. He said, willing is about the same spirit, effort, and energy with which a teenager cleans their room. Yeah, they'll do it because they really are hoping to eat, but they're not excited about it. He said, on a great team, a great coach, a great teacher, a great you, those people are absolutely eager to do whatever it takes. No job is too big, no job is too small. No job starts too early or ends too late. He said, it's only when you break through from willing to eager that you have a chance to reach your potential, to really break through from fear to freedom. Now, as soon as he said that, I'm sort of a visual guy, and I got this picture in my mind, and this is something, called the eager meter, all right, which always makes me think of Beaver Cleaver. It will tell you my generation, eager meter. And I realized, just like everyone on this call has a mind, has a heart, you have an eager meter. In fact, it's part of your heart. It's right there. And here is the most magnificent, unstoppable truth. Like it or not, pandemic or not, you are 100% in charge of your eager meter. In other words, nobody can ever give up for you. Nobody else controls your own faith or your own hope. And so my inspiration today, gathered from the greatest coach of them all, is really simple. It's for everyone who took the time to be here today to move at least one notch in the direction towards eager and away from merely being willing when it comes to standing tall and being the breakthrough leader that you were born to be. Because if we can get everybody to do that, all right, we'll start a wave of possibility and we will really begin to move from fear to freedom. So how do you do it? How do you start to take charge in a time of such uncertainty? And it really comes down to what my time with you is about today, which is controlling your controllables. And we're going to zero in on 3 simple truths. I believe in the KISS principle, keep it simple, superstar. Right? And these 3 simple truths are the areas that we can change our choices to make each day a masterpiece, to make each day one that brings us possibility instead of limit. And all breakthroughs start the same way. All breakthroughs start, right, with vision. So we're going to start with vision. That's the first thing we got to control. And right here is a picture of a great guy. This is my little grandson, Augie, and he is the happiest guy I know. I just adore this guy. And he is really good on this little tricycle. You should see him. He can whip around. He does 360s. He's so awesome. And in a few months, maybe a year or so, because Augie's only 3 right now. But before long, he's going to go out on a 2-wheeler bicycle for the first time. And his dad, who's on this call, or his mom was on this call, be running behind him, holding that bike, and he'll be wobbling, and they'll let go. And all of a sudden, Augie's riding. He's got his tongue out for balance, and he's riding along, and he's shaking, but he's doing it. He's riding. Unfortunately, right in front of him on the sidewalk is a great big old rock. What does Augie look at? The rock. What happens? Bam, he hits the rock. He falls over, he scrapes his elbow, he walks by buddy, his dad, like he's cool, goes up to Kelsey, his mom, goes, I'm gonna die. Now, same kid, Augie's 2 weeks later, but he's got this bicycling thing down now. He's an ace like he is on his tricycle. He's whipping down the same sidewalk. All right, he doesn't have to have his tongue out for balance anymore. On the sidewalk, a bigger rock. What goes around it first? His eyes, not his tire, his eyes. He sees his way around the rock. In other words, he changes his focus. Now, does it do any good for Augie to pretend there's no rock? There's no rock, there's no rock, no. It could be worse. And that's the same way as it is right now in our world. We can't pretend there isn't something going on. We've got to focus and see what's in front of us, and then we've got to change our focus. And that brings us to our first of what's going to be 3 vision keys for my time with you today. And a vision key is an area of PR, which means personal responsibility, all right, to do what Augie did riding that bike, which is to change where you've been focusing and choosing. And the first one from which all begins says, what you focus on is what you create. What you focus on is what you create. Now, all right, this has sometimes been called the law of attraction. But here's the real simple thing. I'm kind of a simple thinker. Since what you focus on is what you create, here is a big question I hope you'll ask yourself. What are you focusing on? What are you focusing on? How many of us focus on the rock instead of the way around it? How many of us focus more on what we don't want more than what we do want? Either way, what you focus on is what you create. Now, I have a lot of people on this call today who have broken boards with me. In fact, at the end of this call, we're going to break our computers. No one happened. Anyways, I've had 750,000 people around the world break through these boards. It's the coolest, most magnificent. I never get tired of it. The most powerful breakthrough metaphor of breaking through from fear to freedom. Everybody writes on the board something they want to break through. On the other side, what's waiting when I've broken through? So I've had 750,000 people do this. A good portion of them, probably 10%, do not break the board at first. And it has nothing to do with their strength, their coordination, their ability, their talents. It has only to do with their focus. Right? And though I will have taught them what you focus on is what you create, what you want to focus on is beyond the obstacle to where you want to get to, they focus on the board. They're drawn to it magnetically, like people are focused on the uncertainty. And as soon as I ask them, what'd you look at? They change their focus, they change their lives. So step 1, to control your controllables, the first one you got to control is to remember that what you focus on is what you create. So focus on what you want to create. All right, the second one that we're going to focus on is, the question is, where do you want to focus to change the opportunities available to you right now? Where can we focus to create momentum and create faith over fear, freedom over failure? And the next one says simply this. It says, I live with extraordinary e-power. And the rule of the game for extraordinary e-power is to play full out. Now, E stands for energy. Now, why is energy so vital right now to move from fear to freedom? Why is energy so important? Well, there's 2 key reasons. The first one allows me to introduce you, those who don't know me, to my very favorite word, and to reacquaint some of you with me who do know me to my favorite word. And what would be a day in our life without another acronym? So why is your energy so important? The first reason is it's all about the WOO, which is called the woo, which incidentally, really fun to say. So on 3, even though you got your mute on, I want to see your mouths move. Everybody on 3, say woo. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo. Say it again. Woo. Anybody ask what did today? You say woo. I like Linda Cormier. You are getting into it. That's my girl. All right. Woo. Woo stands for something. Woo stands for window of opportunity. The woo is the window of opportunity. And I want to suggest that even in the time of pandemic, we all share the most magnificent, most powerful, most available, and most important of all woos right now. And you know what it is? It's every precious moment. Every precious moment is a woo. What do I mean? Well, you never know if the next person you'll meet on this virtual call today, if that person may become a lifelong friend, as you didn't know when you met your lifelong friend. You never know if the next time you talk to your son, your daughter, your spouse, your partner, your customer, your teammate, right? The person you're with right now, you never know if the next thing you say in the next conversation may be so on target for what they did not see with their own eyes, but you saw it. And then you seized the woo because you didn't just see it, you said it. And as soon as you said it, you seized that woo. And because of something you said, somebody's life started to get better. You never know. See, the question to you as a breakthrough leader is not, is there a woo, right? There is. The question you got to ask yourself is, how many of those puppies have you missed? And why do we miss them? And the first reason why energy is so important is, simply put, energy helps you seize more woos. Simple as that. Have you ever noticed when you have more energy, how much more alert you are to possibility? When you have energy, adversity doesn't seem so adverse. And here is the most powerful principle to live by right now to move from fear to freedom. And it is simply this, came from Napoleon Hill. Within every adversity, it's planted the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. It's so important, I'll say it again. Within every adversity is planted the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. In other words, the toughest challenges you've ever made your way through are the very things from which we grow the most. When you have energy, you look for that seed of benefit. When you don't have energy, you get swallowed alive by the adversity. So the first reason why energy is so important is energy puts you in a position to seize the woo. Second reason, and if you get this one, you got a ton today. Why is your energy so important? Well, here's why. To your children, no matter their age, for as long as you draw breath, to your teammates, to your customers, to your boss, to your friends, to your family, to anyone you care about having a powerful, positive impact on your life, please hear this. Your energy is your example. Your energy is your example. People won't remember that much of what you say, no matter how well you say it. And yet they'll never forget your energy. They get your energy long before you've opened your mouth. They get your energy after you close your mouth. They get your energy over the phone. They've never seen your face. They get your energy the way you send emails. Email does not stand for electronic mail, stands for energy mail, for goodness sakes. Everyone we touch, our energy is our example. So if you want to be a breakthrough leader who moves from fear to freedom and who helps others move from fear to freedom, you've got to learn how to cultivate a different level of energy by choice instead of chance in every precious woo. So how do you do that? How do we take charge of our energy during this pandemic? Seize the window of opportunity that's right available. And the best way, the simplest, the most practical and actual actionable way that you can work on your energy is simply this. And that is to start by looking at your energy on a 10-point energy scale. And my major goal for this time together is that everybody will go on an ETP with me for the next 30 days. An ETP is an energy transformation program. We're going on an ETP. And it starts by checking out your energy on a 10-point scale. Now, on our 10-point energy scale, 1 is comatose. 10 is a child on Christmas morning. 10 is the way you feel when you just did the best job of your life. It's something you have a passion for. 10 is the way every person in my seminars has felt when they break through their board. And 11 is the way their teammates feel for them when they break through. So now that we've created the context of a way you can work on energy, I'm going to ask you what I consider to be the trillion-dollar question. I really believe that if you listen to this question, you take it in, for some people, it may be the most important question you've ever been asked. So this is what I call a life-changing, family-changing, health-changing, you-changing question. When you think about that 10-point energy scale from 1 to 10, where are you living your life? That is a great question. Are you living at level 6, level 7, level 8? I don't know where you're living. You do. But unless your answer to that question was 99.7, all right, as a humble breakthrough leader, it leads to the next and the really actionable question. How can I raise that number? How can I move higher on that 10-point scale? Because whatever you answered in your head on that 10-point scale is nothing more than your e-habit. It is the way you have chosen to live in relation to how you generate energy. So how can I elevate on a 10-point scale? And here's why your energy is your control, right? Is your controllable. It is a choice. because there's two simple ways you can elevate your energy by choice instead of chance, and we're going to work on them on this 30-day ETP. The first is so simple that we miss it, and here's what it is. From this moment forward, always know this truth. Your energy is created by the way that you move, period. Your energy is created by the way that you move. In other words, anytime you've been at your best, you've given your best presentation, you've been your kindest, you've been your most creative, you've been your most alert, most alive. You moved your body in distinctly different ways than when you've not been your best. Specifically, your body line and posture, your facial position, your eye position and focus, your facial expression, and your breathing. Now, I've said this to some people before, and they go, well, Brian, if I had more energy, I'd move more. Move more, and you'll have more energy. That's where the choice resides. I'll bet you all know someone who totally amazes you because at a very advanced age, that individual has this remarkable energy. And though I don't know who you're thinking about specifically, I bet I do know two things about that person. Number one, they're one of your life heroes. They're somebody you admire incredibly. Right? Number two, they keep moving. We don't get older, we just stop moving. I'm actually 93 years old, but I just keep moving all the time. All right. What does this mean in real life? On our ETP, it's simple as this. If you want to move your life forward, if you want to move the people around you to possibility instead of limit, if you want to move from fear to freedom, you've got to move yourself. And so on our ETP for the next 30 days, I want to have you add movement to your life. Never sit at a computer for an hour without getting up and breathing. If you're making important phone calls, either get a headset or put it on speaker and stand up and move and smile. Smile more than you've ever smiled over the next month, even when it feels weird. For about 2 weeks, it will feel weird. It will feel completely weird. And everyone around you will say, why are you so weird? But after you do it for 2 weeks, it'll begin to feel weird to go back to that old level of movement. You do it for 3 weeks, it'll feel very weird to go back. You do it for a month on our ETP, you will never go back. So number one, how do you elevate your energy by choice? Change the way you move. Number two, the most unstoppable, the most vital, the most permanent, and the most powerful of all ways to elevate your energy by the choice instead of chance is simply this. It's to focus on your purpose. Have you ever noticed when you're full of purpose that you're full of energy? See, when you get to do what you love to do, it doesn't matter how much sleep you had. It doesn't matter how you've been feeling. You get to do what you love to do. You are 5 years old. But you ever notice what happens to your energy when you lose sight of your purpose? It's like somebody puts a big old pin in it. Now, I want to share my screen real quick. I bring this photo with me to every seminar I go to. It is a photo of my purpose. It's a photo of my family. I love them more than life itself. And as beautiful as these 6 people are, I do not bring this with me to show you. I bring it with me to show me why I bring it. And the last thing I do before I speak about is I go to this and I spend actual present time with them. I go to my wife, Carol. She's the love of my life. Hi, hon. She is the greatest person that I know. She lifts me. She's my greatest teacher. She's my greatest friend. We've had so many unbelievable moments. I can't wait for the next ones. That we're going to celebrate our 35th anniversary this year. And I just get choked up. As I'm looking at you right now, I'm getting choked up. I go to my daughter, Kelsey, holding little Quinny, our little granddaughter. And I marvel at her. From the time she was a little girl, Kelsey always seemed to know the right thing to say at the right moment to say it. And now she works with me. She's the one who puts these slides together. And I see her as a mother and as a wife, and she's amazing. I've never seen happier children. And that's because of the kind of parents that those children have. I go to my son-in-law, Michael. I call him Buddy. He's on this call as well. And Michael is somebody I admire as much as anyone. He is so honest. He is so calm and strong. And I see him as a dad and as a husband, and it makes my heart rise because I know that my family will always be taken care of because of the kind of person that he is. And then I go to my baby, my Jenna, on the other side of Carol. And Jenna is my hero. You see, my daughter Jenna a few years ago went through a terrible tragedy, a very deeply personal pandemic, if you will, and that the man that she was in love with was found dead from a drug overdose. And it tore her heart up, and it made our world dark. and we didn't know what to do. And we were all in this place of terrible sadness and uncertainty. And yet, even in the midst of the darkest time in her life, my daughter Jenna was able to teach me, to open my eyes, to wake me up to the truth that matters. And one day she said to me, Daddy, see, I wanted to fix it and I couldn't. And she said to me, Daddy, I can't take you worrying about me all the time. And I wasn't worrying about her all the time, but I was worrying about her a lot of the time. And she opened my eyes to the same choice every one of us right here, right now has, a choice between fear or faith. And she made me realize I had been choosing fear. And from that day forward, I started to focus, to control that controllable, because what you focus on is what you create. I started to remember how much I believe in her. I started to remember how wise and bright she is. I started to remember that she's going to find her way and she's going to be stronger. And today, I would not be able to do this program for you in this room if she were in the room with me, because she shows so much light. She lights up the world again. She's shining bright. She's chosen love over loss. She's chosen peace over pain. She's chosen faith over fear. And she just brings me incredible gratitude. And finally, I go to Augie and Quinny, my grandbabies, and I just grin, because I never knew that you could have the kind of love that you have as a grandparent. And in the time I just spent with you on my purpose, it changes me. If I'm out on the road, it no longer matters how many flights I miss. It doesn't matter if my knees ache. All that matters when I get focused on my purpose and that choice is that if I don't give every one of you my best, I'm not giving them my best. And I simply won't do that. Does that make sense? So how do you do it? How do you focus on purpose on our ETP? Well, you're changing the way you move, but for 30 days, every day when you wake up in the morning, if you want extra credit, you can do it when you go to right before you go to sleep at night. Ask yourself this question: what am I deeply grateful about in my life? What am I deeply grateful about in my life? What you're grateful about will move you toward, will help you become grateful. What you're grateful about will focus you on your priorities. Your priorities are always your pathway to purpose. So as you move on that 10-point energy scale from 6.3 to 7.5 to 8.2 to 9.4, everything in your life will rise with it. You will begin to focus on the faith instead of the fear. You will begin to feel free and know that you have choices. Now, last thing about energy before we go to our third and final controllable. I have spoken about energy for years, and people on this program know I love to do the woo clap. Woo, yes. All right. But I have had people over the years who've come up with me after a program and they ask me this question. They say, Brian, I have so much energy, except when I get around him. I have this person in my life. All I have to do is think of them and they suck the energy right out of me. They're my energy vampire. And I always say the same thing to those people. I'm going to say it to all of you because it's a vital key to moving from fear to freedom. If you have a person in your life who is your energy vampire, who sucks the energy out of you, stop it. Just stop it. It's not their energy. No one can take your energy away from you. No one can ever take it. You can give it to anyone. You can give them permission, but it's your energy. I know. Person I thought was my energy vampire also happened to be the person who was my hero growing up. It was a guy by the name of my dad. Now, my dad was big and tough. He was LAPD. He worked as a policeman. And more than anything in this world, when I was growing up, I wanted this. I wanted my big tough daddy to give me a hug. I wanted my dad to come up to me and say, I'm proud of you. I wanted him to say, I love you. But my dad could not do that. You see, when he was 7 years old, his mother died. And my uncle told me that when she passed, he closed up and he just couldn't do it. And as I got older, I started to get this internal drive. It wasn't a conscious thought, it was the driving force of my life. I kind of thought, well, maybe if I get great at something, maybe if I'm great in school or in sports or at both, maybe then my dad will give me a hug. Maybe then he'll really be proud of me. Maybe then he'll say, I love you, Brian. But he couldn't do it. By the time I went off to college at 17, and my college roommate here is Paul Clark is on this call, I went away to college. I started to say, to heck with him. I don't care. I don't need him. I'm happy. I'm going to a neat school. I have a great life. And it was a big fat lie. He was still my hero. And more than ever, I wanted him to be proud of me. I wanted him to say he loved me. I wanted him to give me a hug. And for 14 years, I had basically no relationship with my father. If I called up home to talk to my mom and he answered the phone, we had precisely the same conversation. It was word for word. He'd say, I'll get your mother. That was it. But finally, after 14 years, two things happened in my life that made me understand perhaps the greatest truth of all. And that is, if things are to change, I must change. And the first thing that happened was I met Carol and we fell in love and we got married. And on the greatest time of my life, my dad really wasn't a part of it. And it just didn't feel right. And then a year later, we had the greatest moment of our life, and our first daughter was born. Kelsey was born. And he had never set eyes on her. And that wound just would not heal. And finally, Carol and I talked, and we decided we would go and visit my parents, and we would take our little daughter to see their grandparents. But I made a bigger choice, and this is the choice you all have right here, right now. And the choice was, this time when I went to see my dad, I would be myself. I would bring my energy with me. I would take back my energy. You see, I'm a goofball. I laugh really easily. I cry at openings of supermarkets. In fact, if you look up the word sap in your dictionary, I encourage you to do this today, you'll see my picture right there. This is no lie. My daughters will attest to this. I cried at Mickey and Minnie on Ice. That's how bad I am. So I went to see my parents, and I was myself, and I brought my energy. And within one day, my life changed. Because in one day, taking my energy back, I finally realized how much I love my dad. And I finally woke up and realized he had always told me he loved me. He just couldn't say it, and he just couldn't hug me. But for 16 years growing up, he worked 2 jobs. He worked construction all day, policeman all night, so we'd have enough. When I started to take my energy back and bring it with me, we talked, and I found out all those years growing up when I think he didn't even knew, much less cared what I was doing in school and sports, he was telling all the other cops. He just didn't want me to have a fat head. Today, my 89-year-old daddy is one of my best friends in the world. And a year and a half ago, we brought our little grandson, his great-grandson, to see him for the first time. And I watched, here's the picture. I watched as my 89-year-old dad got down low. He next put his arms around Augie. He kissed him on the cheek. And he said, I love you. And I realized my dad was saying the same thing to me. And less than a month ago, for the first time, as I talked to my dad on the phone, because I can't get out to Lake Tahoe to help them, I sure hope we can get out there soon. At the end of the phone conversation, for the first time ever, my dad said, I love you, Brian. All right. That only comes when you decide that energy is your choice and to take it back. So as you move from 6.3 to 7.5, 8.2 to 9.4, your life, your business, your relationships, your spirit will rise with it. You will move from fear to freedom. You get above 9.0, you'll become easy to impress and very hard to offend. All right, so far we've learned we've got to focus on what we want to create. We've got to take charge of our energy. And the final and the third piece, all right, the third controllable that we want to control says simply this. It says, I am fully present. I am fully present. Now, what does that mean? When you're fully present, 100% of your mind, body, and spirit is with the person you're with where they are now. Let me say it again because it's that important. When you're fully present, 100% of your mind, body, and spirit is with the person you're with where they are now. Now, I have a question for you. How many of you ever been with somebody where you know their body's present, but the rest of them is definitely in another county? So here's a big question. How does it make you feel when someone you wish to be fully present with you is not fully present with you? How does it make you feel when somebody you really want to connect with is obviously more interested in looking at their cell phone while they're talking to you than they are listening? For some people, it makes them angry. For some, it just makes them sad. But for every person I've ever known, even the most self-confident individuals, if there's somebody we wish to be fully present with us and they're not fully present with us, it makes us feel worth less. It makes us feel insignificant and unimportant. And I'm going to suggest to you that the opportunity, the woo, in this time that we're in right now of sheltering at home, of holding back, the woo is to be more fully present. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. Right? And I want you to get how powerful this simple choice is, because you can't fake it, can you? You know when somebody's fully present or not. All right? I want you to get the power of this. In my corporate career, when I became the vice president general manager of that training company, I inherited my director of operations. She's on this call today. Hi, Raffaella. She had the greatest name of all. Her name is Raffaella Regina Rossi. We call her R3. All right. And Rafaela had incredible talent. She's so energetic. She's so wise. She's got such great, great, great talent. However, when I took over as her boss, she harbored tremendous ill feelings towards me. She did not like me one bit, which was really hard for me because I love people. And the reason was I had replaced somebody that she had been very loyal to. And she had construed that it was my doing. It really was not, but that's the way she construed it. Now, we tried to pretend to our team that we got along really well. How effective do you think that was? Yeah, everybody knows what's going on. People were walking on eggshells. We were getting nothing done. We were just floundering. For a while, I tried the stuff I thought we were supposed to do as a leader. I tried to give her compliments. That didn't work. I gave her space. That didn't work. I gave her direction. Nothing worked until I remembered my job, your job, our job. My job was to be fully present. My job was to let Rafaela know that she was really important. And so I asked her to come in my office one day, and I was dead dirt honest with her. I said, Rafaela, our team is floundering terribly. And it's because I haven't been a good enough leader to find a way for you and I to break through. And so I asked you to come in this room with me today for a reason that I know will first sound a little unorthodox, but I really have a reason. And I said, if you will allow me for 10 minutes, I will just listen to you. All right. I will not argue. I will not interrupt. I will not defend. I will not ask a question. I will just listen, not just with my ears, but with every ounce of my heart and soul. You have a free pass. You can say whatever you want, however you want to say it, and I will just listen. And I said, all I ask of you is if after I listen to you for 10 minutes that way, that you do the same for me. I said, Rafaela, would you try it? And I know she's smiling right now, and because I'll never forget her answer. She said, Brian, I don't think I could talk for 10 minutes. I said, Rafaela, we just got to get better. And she wanted it better as much as I did. And finally, she kind of grudgingly said, okay, I'll try. An hour later, she stopped talking. And in that hour, I was totally true to my word. I just listened. I didn't say a word. And in that hour, she not only transformed our relationship, she transformed our team and our culture. In that hour, she realized that she had not been fair to me. She realized that if we actually put our energies together, we would be pretty unstoppable. Most of all, she reminded herself of how much she loved the work we could be doing and should be doing, but weren't doing because of our stuff. When we left that room after that hour, we got more done over the next 6 months than we had in the previous 3 years. About a week later, we developed our vision statement. We are champions of empowerment. All right, that changed everything. We got more done. We had more fun. We had a culture of kindness, of mutual support. It was amazing what was accomplished because nobody cared who got the credit. It was awesome. To this day, almost 30 years later, Rafaela is still one of my best friends. She's on this call today. Even though, Rafaela, you still owe me 10 minutes. I never got my 10 minutes. All right. But in that hour of just listening, I was able to communicate what I had not communicated at all until that point. By being present, I said to Rafaela what we say to everyone when we're fully present. I said to her, you're important. You matter. You count. And whenever you're not present, you speak louder. Please do this with your children. Please give them this gift. The average American father today spends an average of 9.5 to 10.5 hours per day on either a cellular or digital device and less than 8 minutes a day in actually interacting with his children. We are losing our focus on being present. The greatest gift of my life, and I'll end with this, came from my two greatest teachers. It happened to be my daughters, Kelsey and Jenna, way back when they were 8 and 3 years old. And here's what they looked like back then. I know they're so incredibly cute. And when they were 8 and 3, we had moved from the big city of Seattle to the mountains of Montana, a little town called Hamilton, Montana. And we had moved so that I would be fully present, that I would be a fully present dad. My speaking career had taken off. I was trying to write my first book. So I was on the road more than half a month. But the reason we moved was that when I was home, I'd be home. I moved my office to my home. I'd be there every morning to make my daughters breakfast and drive them to school. I'd be there to help them with their homework. I'd have dinners. We'd have dinners together with the girls and with Carol. And then I'd be there every night to tuck them in and read them a story. All right, and let them know how important they were and be present. That was why we moved. But have you ever noticed that sometimes you know what to do, but don't do what you know? And I was so swept up in my own stuff at that time that over those years, all right, what would happen, it's hard to remember, but in those days, right, in those days, we didn't really spend so much time doing email. Everything was on the phone. And every morning I would get up at 4:30 in the morning because I was working with all these different time zones. And the next thing I know, I'd miss taking them to school and getting them breakfast. Same thing would happen at the end of their school day. I wouldn't be there because I'd be on some conference call. Probably 80% of the nights I wasn't there for dinner. The three would have dinner together and I'd run down to something to eat. But I was going to be present. And the most important one of all was I was going to tuck my little girls in at night, cuddle them, tell them I love them, let them know they were the most important things in the world. And that was my intent. But every night as I was on my way to do that, I passed by my office and I saw on my desk my telephone. And I knew in the short time I'd run down to get something to eat and come back up, I would have at least 5, if not 10 voicemails. So I got the same idea every night. I thought, well, while they're putting their jammies on and brushing their teeth, I'll just knock off a few of these calls so I don't have so many when I wake up in the morning. Well, you know what happened. An hour later, I put the phone down. I'd completely missed that window of opportunity. I'd go into their bedroom in the dark. They had bunk beds. I'd give them each a kiss they didn't know they got. And as I walked out, it felt like somebody punched me in the gut. And this remorse would sweep over me. And I'd think to myself, tomorrow, I'll get this right. Tomorrow, I'll be that dad. Tomorrow, I'll be present. But the next night, I walked by that phone again, and this turned on to days that rolled into weeks. And then one night, I was reaching for the phone, literally reaching for it while they were supposed to be brushing their teeth. And I felt my daughters behind me. I couldn't see them, but I felt them. And I turned and I looked, and there they were. And they ran to me. And Corey, you just saw how cute little Jenna was. She was 3. She crawled up in my lap, gun under my hand, kind of like a golden retriever waiting to get petted. Kelsey came up, put her arms around me, and I looked at them. I go, girls, what are you doing? This is so cool. And they said, Daddy, before we go to sleep, can we just ask you something? And I said, sure, girls, you can ask me anything. And they grabbed my heart and they shook it. And they changed my life and they gave me my compelling why. And they looked at me with those beautiful little eyes and they said, Daddy, we just want to know, do you love your phone more than you love us? I felt the blade go in. Emerson said, what you do screams so loudly, I cannot hear a word you're saying. I was living my life as if my phone was a higher priority than my daughters. Well, I will tell you, I tucked them in that night. And I never missed another night when I was home. The next morning, I was the one who got them up for school. I made them breakfast. I drove them to school, which made Carol very happy because she's not the biggest on the early mornings. From that day forward, I changed my calendar. My calendar said, always started with them. I never missed one of their dance performances. I never missed one of their school events. And I thought I was doing it for them. Do you know that every dimension of our life rose with the decision to be more fully present? No coincidence. None of my books got finished until I started to be more fully present. You don't get less done in work. You get more done by being fully present because it's not about quantity. It's about quality. And so how do you do it? Well, inch by inch, anything's a cinch. And I have one last part of your ETP, your Energy Transformation Program. It's maybe the most important one. Over the next 30 days to change your energy and move from fear to freedom, pick out at least one person. You can do 2 if you're a go-getter, but one person who for 30 days you commit to be more fully present with. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have more time with them. You may actually have less time. But when you're with them, put the phone away. Shut off the television. When you listen to them, just listen instead of thinking about what you're going to say. You watch. After a couple days of focusing on being more present, they're going to look at you different. They're going to go, wow, you've been working out. You're looking good. Right? And as you become present with that person, you'll start to go to the next, until it becomes who you are. I like to end this one with kind of a corny poem, but by now you certainly know I'm corny. But it's a great way to remember this simple principle. It says this. It says, the past is history, the future a mystery. The gift is now. That's why we call it the present. Give me a woo on that one. Woo. And so we're at the end of my little session right here. And I want to just remind you of the 3 little simple principles we learned that can move you from fear to freedom. That you have a constant choice to focus on what you want to create. The outside does not control your inside. So what you focus on is what you create. Remember that as you focus on your energy, changing the way you move, focusing on your purpose, right? And you move from 6.3 to 7.5 to 9.6, you will absolutely make every day your masterpiece. But most of all, seize the woo in this time and be more fully present with the people that matter to you. Because the love you failed to share is the only pain you live with. And as soon as you choose to be present, you move towards the opportunity to be pain-free. And so I'm getting excited now because the good part of the program, I'm like, you always run uphill first. So the good part's coming up. And I'm in just a second. I most of all just want to thank you. People that I love from 50 years ago are on this call. People that I care so much about. We have people from so many of my clients over the years. So I'm just honored that you took the time to be here. And I've got a new website called brianbyrovirtual.com. Please come and visit me. I'd love to do things for your team. So right now, though, let me really do the fun part. And I'm going to introduce you to my incredible friend, Meredith Elliott Powell. And I got to tell you, Meredith I am so proud of her. I'm so humbled by her. When Meredith started her speaking career, we worked together. And today she is one of the very most sought after speakers in the world. She has gone by me like 0 to 40 in a minute. She is incredible. And why she's so incredible, number one, she's got such great wisdom and strategies she's going to share with you. She has lived it practically. She has risen from a startup position to an executive. She understands, most of all, what makes people tick and how to make the most of each day. But what I love about her most is she's authentic, she's real, she is lovely, she is a lovely spirit who changes lives. So with no further ado, everybody right now, I want to see your hands together. Let's welcome Meredith Elliott Powell.
Yay! Thanks, Brian. I've got to tell you, I am not sure how I follow you. That was amazing. But, as I sit here watching all the faces, the thing that I've loved is when you talked about being present and the whether you're on a cell phone or not fully there. I saw people either looking guilty or thinking accusatory of who they have in their life who is not who is not present with them. So I'm going to take that challenge because I think I fall short there, and I'm going to take that challenge. And for the next 30 days, I am going to work to be more present. I wish that what we're doing today was my idea, but it was not. I am very humbled by the fact that Brian chose me to do this with. But the thing that I love is that Brian said, let's do this, and the whole title and everything was his. And we both just decided that we would do topics, and we've not really discussed what either one of us were doing, but it fits so beautifully because really, even the fact that Brian went first, because what Brian talked about was really taking care of you in the middle of this crisis, really making sure that you are healthy and that you are strong. And when you do that, you're ready for what I'm going to talk about. And that is, how do you position your business for success and truly to emerge successful? So I love that we came in the right order and that everything builds on top of one another. And I've got a little bit more work to do on some of the things that you talked about. But, when I started doing the research and the things that I want to focus on today, and when I leave my presentation, you're going to have a roadmap, really the 5 things that you need to do to really breathe life into your business and to ensure that you emerge successful. I don't want you just to survive this crisis. I want you to be positioned to emerge successful. I mean, who would have thought 2 months ago that a virus could so drastically disrupt our marketplace? I mean, we've got businesses shutting down, social distancing has become the norm, and it's got us wondering when, if ever, things are going to return to normal. And what is normal going to look like? I mean, we are experiencing disruption at a massive level, and it is easy to lose hope in that type of environment. It's easy to wonder, can we bring our businesses back? Can we survive and then succeed in an environment like that? Well, the truth is, you can. About 2 years ago, I started researching a book called Thrive. And the book I became fascinated with the fact that we have businesses in this world that have been around since the 1700s. They're still in business today. And meaning that they have been around since the 1700s, they have survived economic depression, economic downturn, war, and disease. I mean, think about how much has happened in our world since the 1700s. And I became fascinated with the idea of why. What have they done? What has been so unique and so different? What has been their methodology? And the truth is, what you choose to focus on in the middle of a crisis, the decisions that you make, they are critical. They can mean the difference between whether you survive this crisis or whether you succeed this crisis. And the strategies that I learned from these businesses are really the strategies that are going to put you in a position to really succeed in today's environment. That's the book right there, Thrive. It'll be out this fall. But think about, again, from the 1700s, all the things that we have experienced and what it really boiled down to. I don't have time to get into all the strategies today, but there's 5 areas that I want to focus on. 5 areas that are going to position you to be successful and not only survive this crisis, but really emerge from this crisis successful. So where do we need to start? And it's a proven methodology. It is a proven track record. And I love that what Brian said is what you focus on expands. That's what you're going to get more of. And these are the strategies that if you put them into place, they're going to be your roadmap to turn out successful. Look, there's so much uncertainty happening right now. Nobody really knows where we're going to land or when we're going to get there. But if you take the right steps, if you follow the right path, I promise you, you are going to thrive in all this uncertainty. So where do you start? Where do you begin? Well, number one, the thing that this crisis has taught us is just how fragile our marketplace is. Just the fact that our economy can change in a moment's notice. But most importantly, it has taught us that the majority of things that can impact our success, our safety, they are outside of our control. Think about that. The majority of things that you plan on, that you need to strategize in order for your business to survive, they are outside of your control. So if you want to succeed in today's marketplace, if you want to thrive in all this uncertainty, you have got to condition yourself for change. You have got to get good at change. Change is like a muscle. And the more we work it, the more we talk about it, the more we brainstorm it, the more comfortable we are going to get with change. Here's the truth about change. If you see change coming, it can be your greatest opportunity. If you ignore it, if you don't plan for it, it will bury you. And anticipating change is where the power is with change. I want you to think about this. Think about how much businesses are changing right now. We have manufacturers that, in order to rise to the occasion, they're making medical gowns, they're making masks. We have breweries here in Asheville, North Carolina, that are making hand sanitizer. But one of my favorite stories is about a retailer in Chicago, Illinois, a woman who owns a high-end gift shop, and 100% of her business is from people walking into her shop and wanting to talk to her. And here she is in the middle of this pandemic, and in one fell swoop, her entire business evaporated. She didn't have any time to build a fancy website with a virtual tour or whatever, but she just took a moment and thought, what is happening outside of my business? What are the shifts and changes that are happening? And she thought, well, people won't be able to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries and holidays, and they're still going to need help with these things. So she created a simple Google form, nothing fancy, just a form that people could fill out, and she contacted all of her customers. And now she walks them through virtually choosing the perfect gift. So she has responded to the change in the marketplace to really breathe some life into her business. So what's the action I want you to take with that? Well, number one, I want you to build your muscles when it comes to change. I don't want you to sit and wait for the changes that are coming to you in this marketplace. I want you to anticipate those changes. So I've got a tool for you that I'm gonna share on my screen, and let's go ahead and bring that up, and you'll get it with the recording here. Simply, these are this is the tool. I call it a skeptic. And if competition had a K, it would be a perfect skeptic. But society, competition, economics, politics, technology, industry, your customers, I want you to grab a couple of your team members. If you don't have team members, if you're a solopreneur like me, you might just grab a couple of your colleagues. And I want you to talk once a month. Spend 30 minutes talking about what's happening outside of your business, what's happening out in the marketplace. Because if you talk about the changes coming, you'll start to see the opportunities. The one thing that we know about this pandemic, the one thing we can count on is life is going to be different after the pandemic. But that doesn't mean it can't be better. Your business is going to be different, but it doesn't mean it can't be better. So brainstorming through the changes that are happening are going to strengthen your change muscle. The more you talk about it, the more comfortable you'll get with it, and the more you'll start to anticipate change. And if you get in front of change, that is where the power is. The last thing I'm going to say about this is I like to say that we are in a false normal right now. I mean, depending on where you live in the world right now, business might be starting to turn back on. Your economy might be starting to move. But the world that we're living in and we're going to live in for the next 6 months won't be the same economy that we're in a year from now. So even in good times and bad times, you want to be brainstorming outside of your business so that you're sitting in the power seat. You're seeing the change coming and you're saying, what can we do differently to create opportunity in a marketplace like that? And I've got to tell you, one of the biggest changes that you're going to see, and Brian, you talked about this with Rafaela, and that is that competition has been replaced with collaboration. This problem is bigger than you. It's bigger than your business. It's bigger than your team. And you are going to need to work with other people in order to solve this issue. Again, we see this working so beautifully in the marketplace right now. We're watching companies work together. We're watching former rivals work together to help with supply chains, to make sure that they are solid. And I've got to tell you that one of my favorite collaboration stories comes from World War II and Winston Churchill. I mean, when Winston Churchill looked out and said, we have got to defeat the Nazis, he knew that England and Great Britain couldn't do it all on their own. So he went to Stalin. I mean, that's not exactly an ally. He went to Franklin Delano Roosevelt with one question. And the question is, how do we defeat Nazi Germany? And together they collaborated on a solution. Well, look, you may not think this pandemic is that big, but it is for you and your business. So you've got to decide, what questions do you need answers to, and who do you need to collaborate with to solve those problems? Who do you need to be working with to solve those issues? One of my favorite stories right now is I've got two companies doing this, just absolutely doing this beautifully. Number one is a healthcare company that is doing extremely well in this environment. Whoops, can somebody put, I think, yeah, thanks, Kathy. They're doing extremely well in this environment. Obviously, they're in healthcare, but their sales team had to go home, and they've never worked in a home remote environment with their sales team. Well, they've partnered with a technology company, and that technology company was working all in the restaurant business. Well, the restaurant business isn't doing that well right now. So the technology wants to get into healthcare. So they're working together, sharing their knowledge to help both of their companies survive. It's going to take that in this environment. So embrace the fact that you can't solve this on your own, and be okay with that. I mean, Brian could have done this webinar without me, but he had one goal, in that he wanted to provide as much value as he could for people. So he said, Meredith, why don't you and I partner on this? You have a different perspective, which made it richer and made it better. So you've got to find the right people, and I'm going to tell you how to do that in a moment. But the most important thing about collaboration are the right questions. People don't collaborate around a question. They collaborate around a solution. I mean, imagine if Winston Churchill would have said, what do you think we ought to do? He didn't say that. He said, we've got to defeat the Nazis, and got everybody to collaborate around that. The questions in your business right now are things like, what does the business need to look like 6 months from now? How do we continue to serve our clients? How do we manage a remote work team? Whatever your questions are, then go to your peers, even go to your competitors, figure out who has what you need, and collaborate. Because it is through collaboration that you are going to find the path forward. I mean, Brian, you set me up so perfectly with that. When you're talking about Rafaela, working opposite each other, it just didn't get you where you needed to get to. But when you started working together, magic was made. And I think this is true no matter what the times, but in a crisis, you have got to work together. You have got to be forging these mergers in order to really find the path out. I've got another company that I work with that, whoa, they are challenged right now. All that they do is they work in the large event space. Overnight, soccer games, baseball, everything was gone. But they've collaborated with a technology company. And I just spoke with those two CEOs this morning. They are passionate. They are on fire. They are excited for what is next. So it is those uncommon collaborations when you choose the right questions that are going to help you find the path forward. So then that begs the question, who do you collaborate with, right? Well, I got to tell you, of all 5 strategies, this one is my favorite. Because when I started researching the book Thrive, and I found those companies that have survived unprecedented challenge, they all sold different products. They were all different sizes. They sold into different markets. But there was one thing they all had in common. While they had survived since the 1700s, as you can imagine, their companies have morphed, they have changed, they have done things differently. But one thing never changed about them. They understood who they were at their core, and they were committed to their core values. And their core values have become their guiding principles as to who they were and the decisions that they made. I really believe this. One of the things that I'm seeing in today's environment is that people are either stuck like a deer in the headlights, they're not sure what to do, or they're frantically busy. They're so busy, they're just grabbing at anything they can grab at to survive. And they're struggling with how to make a decision. Well, when you understand your core values, they become your litmus, your test that you come back to, like Brian said, your purpose, that you say, does this decision align with who we want to be in this pandemic and who we want to be after this pandemic? And if that decision does, you go forward with it. One of the challenges with uncertainty is that nobody knows exactly where we're going to wind up. And so you're not sure if the decisions are right. All you can do is be true to yourself and your company. And you've got to go back and get that core really solid. One of the companies that I researched was Brooks Brothers, and they're still around today. And in fact, one of the things they're doing now, instead of making ties in their plant in North Carolina, they're making medical masks, not far up the road from Brian and I. But one of their core values is they want to be committed to their community, and they want to be relationship focused, to be connected to what their customers need right now. So when this idea came up to quit making ties and to start making medical masks, you can see that it's very aligned with who they are. But let's go back in their history. In the time of the Civil War, they quit making business suits and they started making uniforms to supply to the armies, because that's what people needed right now. So running around in the middle of a pandemic or any type of crisis is like a fog, right? You're not sure where to go or what direction to take, or where the landmine's going to be, or where the hole is going to be. But the most successful companies among us have gone back to their core. They've gone back to their values, and they've had the hope and the faith that those values will carry them through. And let me tell you, we can learn a lot from businesses that have made it since the 17 and 1800s. And they've done that by letting their values be their guide. So when it comes to collaborating, you want to collaborate with people who share the same values that you do. That's your litmus test. You know, you're not going to necessarily collaborate with every competitor out there, every peer or every colleague, but when your values align, it's like magic. I mean, one reason it was so easy, it shouldn't be a surprise that Brian and I, that our content matches, that all this kind, we're running the same value system. So it's easy. And I just really want to cement that is just so important. If you're not clear on your values right now, go back, do the homework, really look at what you're going to do, because the products and services that you offer, those are going to change. But the values of who you are, those are not going to change. They're not going to change, at all. They may get a tiny adjustment, but it's your values. It's not the product that makes you who you are and your business, successful. So getting clear on that core is really going to position you for success. So we are cooking with gas. We have 3 of the 5. If you left me right now, and I don't want you to leave me, but if you did, you've got enough to really get yourself on the path to emerge successful. But I've got to tell you, this next one, it's not only a core strategy, but it's going to put a little jingle in your pocket. It's going to help you make a little revenue right now and ensure that you are selling the products and services that are relevant down the road. Because one of the things that I found when I really started researching these companies is, while the rest of us are struggling how to figure out how to just even exist in a crisis, companies that are following these strategies, they're positioning themselves for growth. They already know that they don't need to just focus on surviving. They could actually take this another level. They could actually position themselves to really capitalize on some of the opportunities out there. And the way they do it, it is so true to their core values, because the way that they do it is they secure their base. And what do I mean by securing your base? What I mean by securing your base is that you focus on growing your business from the inside out. You focus on taking care of your existing customers. Now, why do I want you to take care of your existing customers? Is because the more conversations you have with existing customers, the more you are going to learn. You are going to learn about their pain points. You are going to learn where they're struggling. You are going to learn about the opportunities, and you are going to find the next product or service that you need to sell. I did a video I guess about a week or so ago on LinkedIn called The 4 Things Your Salespeople Need to Be Doing Right Now. And I said in that video that you need to be going back 4 or 5 years with your existing customers. And every day you need to send emails, pick up the phone, and just check in with people and ask how they're doing. How is this pandemic impacting them? How are they holding it together, both personally and professionally? Where are the biggest pain points? Now, the power in this is you're being loyal to your existing customers. And if you are loyal to your existing customers, they are going to be so unbelievably loyal to you. And they are going to help you grow your business, not only through this pandemic, but after this pandemic. But in the middle of that, they are going to give you the most incredible gift. And the gift that they are going to give you is they are going to tell you exactly what products or services that you need to be developing in order to be successful going forward. Procter & Gamble is one of the companies that I researched, and I believe that Procter & Gamble was founded in 1737. So to still be alive and breathing today is just really incredible. one of their core values is to listen to their customers. And you can see it as you trace their history. They've done it every single step of the way. In the face of war, they always put developing soap on the forefront, because soap was needed in early times of war for any level of sterilization, and it was hard to come by in those days. But they've really been incredible. They do in 1941 they developed the toll-free line so customers could call in and give them feedback. And if you look at their whole product development, it's been on listening to their customers. When women went back to work, they came out with product lines that made taking care of the house easier and more convenient. And it remains a core principle today. So what do I want you to do with that? What's the action I want you to take? I want you to get on that phone a couple of hours every day. It is the highest and best use of your time. I do it every day myself. And what I am finding out is fascinating. It is creating the path forward of what I need to offer, what I need to do with my business, and it is securing my clients to me. People are going to remember who showed up in the middle of this crisis and what they did and what they said. And there is a point, it may not look like it now, but this economy will turn back on. And you want to be at the end of the runway with the right products and services ready to offer. And the only way you're going to know is to start with your existing customers. Check in and let them tell you what it is that they need. And they're going to give you a gold mine of information. They are going to tell you exactly what you need to be developing, and they are going to be the first people in line ready to buy it. Listen, those people already love you and they want to support you, but your products and services as they exist now are not going to solve their problems. And I am guessing, just like is holding true for Brian and I, with minor adjustments, what you already do is going to be perfect to solve those problems. But the language, you're going to learn it from your customers. And if you check in now and check in with them, they're going to be so ready to step to the plate to not only buy what you're offering, but to help you find new markets and help you open new opportunities. All right. So we have 4 of the 5. What could possibly be left? Well, again, Brian set me up so perfectly for this because he really leaned into it as well. And that is to shed fast and keep moving. I mean, you have heard me say it I've probably said it 1,000 times since we started. And Barbara, yes, I will repeat every single one of these at the end. I will give you your roadmap, so you will have that. But the thing is, again, you've heard me say 1,000 times. Nobody knows where we're going to wind up when all of this is over. There's so much uncertainty. So the worst thing you can do is not move and not take action right now. But you've got to, you've got to admit that some things are going to work and some things aren't going to work. And you've got to be willing to let go of some stuff that isn't getting you and helping you move forward. I've got a client right now that works in the airline industry. Talk about a tough industry to be in. And the interesting thing is when 2008 happened, they created a contingency plan, and they were able to implement that contingency plan as soon as this pandemic hit. But they implemented that contingency plan in mid-February, and they have updated it 21 times since they put that strategy into place. Why? Because think how much has changed in our world since February. So here's a strategy that I want you to use. It's a thing that I call a seeds, weeds, and needs. Seeds are, I want you to just take some time at the end of every week, and I want you to ask yourself, what are you doing that's working? What do you need to do more of? And what do you need to grow in your business? That's how I learned that I needed to be spending more time on the phone talking to people, because that's what's bringing me the best information. But what is it that you're really doing well that's moving your business forward? And then weeds. What's holding you back? What do you need to be letting go of? What's weighing you down? And I'm gonna tell you, the first couple times you do this, you got a lot of weeds because we're in a habit, right? We've been doing the things that we've always done. You know, whenever you go through crisis, you go back to what you're comfortable with. And what you're comfortable with probably is what you were doing before this pandemic started. And some of that needs to shed, it needs to go. And the needs part is, what do you need to be doing that you're not doing? And for me, I was doing a great job of handling the day to day in my business, but I wasn't doing enough to transform my business in where I believe I want my business to be in the next 2 to 3 years. So I needed to start creating more time on my calendar. So let me tell you what I did. I started this just a couple of weeks ago, but I do a seeds, weeds, and needs every week. It doesn't take me 15 minutes to do, but I started color coding my calendar. And anything that is a seeds gets light green and green because it's probably revenue generating or client facing. Anything that is needs, I'm going to tell you, gets a big fat red because it's moving my business to the next, to the next level. And then anything that is a weed gets a peach because it means that either I'm wasting time or I'm doing things that aren't helping my clients or moving my business forward. And it's been so powerful to look back every week and see what the color codes are on my business, because it's helped me understand from a seeds, weeds, and needs standpoint what I need to be doing to really move my business, forward. And and now I'm in a little competition with myself because I don't want to put anything on there that's peach, because I want more on there that's green and red. But the truth is, again, we just get into a habit. And it's so easy to go backwards but the businesses that succeed are the ones who are able to throw mud at the wall, see if the mud sticks, clean it off when it doesn't, and throw more mud at the wall. And everything that we have been talking about to this point has gotten you here. It's gotten you to the point where you can take action. Back when I started my business, I named my business Motion First. And the reason I named it Motion First is because that's what I believe at my core, is that we learn through movement. Progress is how you build your confidence. Brian, you had your beautiful grandchildren on there, and the way they learn to walk is they fall on their face. The way Augie learned to ride was he had an accident. He brushes himself up and he gets back on, right? There is no way, I'm going to go out on a limb and say in this pandemic, you are going to choose the right path right out of the gate. You're not. We're all going to make mistakes. You just need to throw it up there, but you need a system and a process. And that seeds, weeds, and needs, make sure that you hold on to the things you're doing well, because you're doing some stuff really, really well right now. The weeds are going to help you understand where you're weighing yourself down. And the needs, they're going to help you get your head out of your business, and they're going to help you look forward. They're going to help you see past this pandemic. And you've got to be working on not only sustaining the business for now, but we've got to be transforming the business for what it needs to look like down the road. And these simple little tools give you the structure, they give you the format, they give you the way to do that in a way that's really easy. I don't want you to do this for more than 15 minutes a week. And if you color code your calendar, that'll take you down to, down to 10. So those are the strategies. Those are the steps. And yes, I'm definitely gonna repeat all of those. I'll go ahead and put those up there on the screen. But these are the strategies that are really gonna, put you put you in place. I call it a roadmap for thriving in uncertainty, truly a strategy. These are powerful steps with a proven formula that companies that have been around and have been through so many challenges, it is how they function and what they use to not only position themselves for success, but truly to emerge successful. You have got to build your change muscle. I really want you once a month to block that time on the calendar and talk about what is happening outside of the business. You have got to see the changes coming before they change. Just imagine if we turn the economy back on in June. What will those possibilities mean? What will it mean if we had to wait till September? You know, we have an election coming up. Who wins will impact our businesses. The changes happening with your customers, the very fact that all of us are getting more comfortable with being at home more, all of those things are changing constantly, and you need to be aware of them. You've got to collaborate. You've got to figure out the things that you need in your business. And then I want you to get the courage to ask other people to work with you on solving those problems. There is magic in collaboration. I want you to get clear on your core. I want you to be really clear on your values, on who you want to be in this pandemic, and more importantly, who you want to be after this pandemic. Then use those values as your guiding principle. They're their litmus. Take it back to every single decision you make and ask yourself, is it aligned with your values? Is it aligned with who you want to be? That's where Brian's present one is going to get you. Because I don't want you just to create values for your business. I want you to create values for your life. Because most of us who have a business, it's all one and the same. It's all mixed together. Who we are is our business. But when you make decisions according to those values, it's going to make sure you're creating a path that is right for you. And authentically growing in this pandemic is very important. Secure your base. Pick up that phone. Call your customers. They are gonna realize and remember that you're the one who checked in with them, but they are going to give you the gift of the next product or service that you have got to create, how you need to market it, and the language that of how you need to grow it. They are going to decide for you and help you define what the business needs to look like going forward. And then when you have built all four, just keep moving. Just throw that mud at the wall and do your seeds, weeds, and needs, and ask yourself what's working, what isn't, and let go of what isn't and embrace what is, and have the courage to really transform that business to the next level. These strategies are going to put you in a position to not only make it through this pandemic, but they're going to put you in a position to truly emerge successful. I want to draw your attention. There is my contact information. I want to tell you that I am a passionate believer that if you build your network, it will change your life. I don't know where I would be right now if I had not met Brian Biro. So there you go. That's proof in the pudding. But on my website at valuespeaker.com, there's a purple bar that sits across the top. And that purple bar says Emerge Successful. And that is filled with videos and articles and podcasts that I've done all about what you need to do from a business perspective right now to ensure that you emerge successful. So I would encourage you to do that. I want to, Brian came up with this slide. So Brian, I want to you jump in too and tell our folks kind of what we want him to do now.
Well, first of all, everybody, we got to give Meredith hands up. Yeah. Woo!
Thanks.
She is so clear, and when you're around her, you just feel a sense of possibility and a sense that everything that she talked about is in our grasp and in our choices, and we can do these things. And that's what we wanted today, was to move towards possibility. And so the only thing we missed the opportunity in a live event to be connected with you. So the best we could do is to use this chat function if you want to, and that is we want to get you engaged instead of sitting on the sidelines into the game. So if you want to take a couple of minutes, we're actually ahead of schedule. We have 6 more minutes until we're done. And just take a minute or two, and on the chat, this is really more for yourself. Certainly, we're welcome to questions So type these 2 questions. That'll take this session that we did and make it 1,000 times more accessible. Because when you bring something to conscious more than once, that's when it really locks in and becomes available to you. Everything we talked about today is in your brain. The key is getting it accessible. And that's what these 2 little quick questions are. So number 1 is, what story, idea, principle, and Meredith's or my time or both impacted you? So something that made a difference for you. And just take a minute, write it down in your chat. Write it down in chat so that you've thought it through and brought it back up. And then 2, and this is the application one. Because when we hear, we forget. When we see, we remember. But it's when we do that we understand. And so it's one thing to be clear about what made an impact, but here's where you put it into practice. How and with whom specifically will you apply what you've learned? Maybe there's somebody you want to be more present with. Maybe it's, I'm definitely going to get on that phone with my bass. I've never done that. All right. And that's seeds, weeds, and needs. I love that. So this is, if you would take a minute or 2 to just have some fun on chat and just type out your answer to these 2 questions, we would love it. And if you had any questions that you want to ask, we'll search the chat and we'll take a minute to try to answer them.
Brian, some are coming in privately, but I'm getting some. Dawn loved the fact that he's in charge of his energy. Tammy loved the seeds, weeds, and needs analogy. I love that Carol said she's going to start each day asking what she's deeply grateful for. Michelle learned that in this crisis, the need to make a personal connection is equally as important as the quality of the product or service you offer. Just fantastic. Got a few
Awesome.
more here, I think. Yeah, Rafaela said, focus on what you want and seeds, weeds, and needs, more present with spouse, especially since we're both working from home. Rafaela, I got to do that too. So yeah, so that's fantastic. We've got a lot more in here. Conditioning yourself for change. I love the seeds, weeds, and needs. Reminder about to be fully present, with everyone. Let's see what else we got. Some never give up and stay focused on your purpose. To be fully present section, got clarity on how Morgan, my quiet daughter, is the one who's grabbed my heart twice to redirect me to be more present at age 7 and 16. Our quiet teachers are most profound. That is so true.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah. My energy is created by how I move. Yep. And
I joke about this, but you'll appreciate this. When I am on stage, I am 25 years old. I have no pains, no aches. As soon as I get up, I'm 65 again. But on stage, I am still 25. So I can be 25 anytime I even pretend there's a stage.
Yeah. So we've got core values, purpose, and energy. We've got a friend here from Asheville saying that loves our Asheville peeps, that we are amazing. To be fully present, to be ahead of change is huge for Linda. Susan says core identity, authenticity, core values, purpose, and give us energy. And then Barbara said, we'll create anchor with my purpose, like photo, and be present with my mom for 30 days and do the seeds, weeds, and needs every single week.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're just getting great ones in here. Yeah.
Well, that is so cool. And we really appreciate every single one of you. I guess we had 1,000 people sign up and we somehow managed to find a technical glitch where they stopped us at 200.
Yes, so, Zoom is having issues. So, but everybody is going to get the recording, and we will deeply apologize to anybody who didn't get to be on here.
And you're welcome to let everybody know that the program will be available at any time. So recording, we so appreciate your being with us, though, because that's what makes it feel like we're actually here together with you. And I just want to, I end every event the same way, with an Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sunshine warm upon your face and the rains fall softly upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. I love you dearly, Meredith. You're awesome. Thank you all, everybody.
This was
Have
amazing.
A great day. Control those controllable seeds, weeds, and needs.
Emerge successful.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank